Evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our second virtual speaker series. We will be doing a question and answer session with the Alumni Association National Board Chairman, Sam Ambrose, using the questions that you all submitted. I would first like to introduce our moderator for the evening, Irene Dominique. Irene is an SAA ambassador. She is a sophomore studying digital media productions, and she is from Orlando, Florida. Thank you for being here, Irene.
Thank you, Kenneth.
I would now like to introduce our guest for the evening, Mr. Sam Ambrose. Mr. Ambrose is a former advisor for SAA. As advisor, Mr. Ambrose was instrumental in converting the organization into the current Student Alumni Association. Mr. Ambrose is currently the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Encoda, which is a leader in healthcare reimbursement automation that empowers medical business offices to cost-effectively collect the most money in the shortest time possible. Mr. Ambrose is a lifetime member of the FSU Alumni Association, and he earned his bachelor's and master's degree from the Florida State University College of Communication. Please welcome Sam Ambrose.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Kenneth, and welcome, Mr. Ambrose. I'd like to start by asking our first question, and it is by Noelle. Her question was, what was your first steps in searching for a job after graduation?
Okay, that's a good question. Thanks, Noelle. When I think back about my time at Florida State, I would tell you this: don't wait until after graduation. I don't know what year Noelle is or any of you. I would tell you, you're going to want to start in your junior year, and there's reasons for that, because I think you need to take the time during that time in your as a student to figure out what you want to do. But you should be able to kind of figure out what you like and what you don't like, and go out there and get some experience during those years as a volunteer, as an internship. I would definitely utilize our Career Center at Florida State. I'm sure you all have heard about our Career Center, but I can tell you it's one of the best in the nation. There are universities and colleges that send their folks from their career centers to our Career Center in Tallahassee to learn best practices. It's an excellent resource, not just for current students, but alumni as well. The other big thing I thought was important for me, and is it going to be important for you all too, is to network, right? So part of what you're involved with today with the Student Alumni Association is not only do you get to interact with us, that's not the right way to say it, we get to interact with you, but when I was a student in Student Alumni, one of the biggest benefits to us as students is we got to meet alumni, right? So we got to meet people that were already out in the job market, already building their careers, already successful. We got to see them outside of their work environment and get to know them, right? And then we could ask them for tips and advice, and starting to, once you kind of figure out what you think you want to do and you start going for it, you're going to want to use your network of people to help you get what you want. So when I say that, because you want to be doing that in your junior year, and then by the time you get to your senior year, you're already rehearsed, you already know what's going on. I would definitely, we didn't have, I hate to say this, we didn't have LinkedIn when I was a student. LinkedIn is a great resource. And if I'm a junior today, I'm looking at LinkedIn because I want to understand what are employers looking for, what do the job postings say, what kind of experience do I need? And even though you're a student, you could still get, experience like that just by volunteering or interning and using that on your resume, right? And you want to help distinguish yourself. The other thing I'll tell you, and for those of you that were with us back in February, if you're not in the Garnet and Gold Scholars Program, look it up and get into it, because the whole reason that the Garnet and Gold Scholars Program was created was to help distinguish our graduates from other graduates at other universities. So when an employer is looking at your resume and they see, hey, this is Irene's resume, Garnet and Gold Scholar, it opens the door for them to ask you, hey, Irene, what does this Garnet and Gold Scholar mean, right? So I would definitely encourage you to do all that, and then just start doing it. Attend the Career Center fairs, and just network your way to get to what you want. But you really need to start in your junior year. Don't wait till your senior year. It's too late.
Yeah. So as we are talking about experiences, and we all are going through like this national pandemic, COVID-19, and a lot of us, like myself, who were offered internships for the summer are now being told that we can no longer participate in those internships. So what can we do during the summer or right now to make up for those lost experiences?
Well, that's a great question, and unfortunately, there's a lot of people going through that right now, right? Not just students, but people, on the outside world, and people, that are getting paid. People are losing their jobs, unfortunately.
Yeah.
What I would do is, or the first thing I'll tell you is this: don't quit, right? Use this time to kind of, sharpen. I call it sharpening the saw. If you read, Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that's one of the habits: sharpen the saw. But you want to use this time, excuse me, to strategize and kind of, recenter yourself. Do I think what I want is what I want? And if the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, you have time to make adjustment. Like, you're not being penalized for any failure, right? Or not, you're not paying a high price, right? If you're reassessing. The second thing I would tell you to do, and I'm experiencing right now in my own business, is there are a majority of the population is working from home. And in my business, where it's a sales and marketing business, right? If we're not bringing money in the door, that's a problem. Well, there's a lot of people that we are targeting that are C-level executives that are working from home, that have time to think, that have time to strategize, that have time to take a look at what we might have to offer. Well, the same is going to apply for students. They're going to have time to talk to you, right? You may be able to get to somebody during the next few weeks that you wouldn't have been able to get to a few weeks ago, right? Because they're working from home and sometimes they need to take a break and do something different, or they're just going to give you the time of day right now because they have the time of day to give. So I would be reaching out to people that you want to meet. The next thing I would be doing is just really bulking up on my learning. There's a lot of, if you think about a company that you want to go to their website. A lot of the better ones are doing webinars for their clients or for their prospects. Sit in. It costs nothing to do that. You're going to learn about the company. You're going to become more of an expert in the field. It costs you nothing to do. And then I would do the same thing to their competitors. So you learn about the industry. You're really beefing up your knowledge. So when all this is over, you're going to be a better, more, well-rounded person. You're going to be smarter because of the time that you put in right now. But that's what I would be doing if I were you guys.
Thanks. So my next question to you is thinking about the times that you have spent here at FSU and some of the things that you participated or contributed to, like the Student Alumni Association. What were some of your thoughts and processes?
In terms of what?
Like your success to the Student Alumni Association, the things that you contributed to what the Student Alumni Association stands for today.
Oh, that's a good question. So my experience at FSU was a little bit different than most. And I say that because I started as a junior, right? I went to an all boys high school in Miami. When the time came for me to go to college, truth be told, I grew up in an Italian family. My dad just didn't want me to leave home. So he made me go to Miami-Dade. Nothing wrong with Miami-Dade, but I didn't want to go to Miami-Dade. I wanted to go to Florida State. So I went to Miami-Dade and I got out of there in 5 semesters because my goal was get to Tallahassee as fast as possible. When I got to Tallahassee, now I'm starting as a junior at Florida State. Interesting to note that I was admitted to the university, but I wasn't admitted to my college yet. I had to compete to get in there. The important thing about that is, as I got involved at Student Alumni, first as a member,
Okay.
Student Alumni back then was called Student Alumni Foundation, not Student Alumni Association, which it is today. And my goal when I got to Florida State as a junior was I wanted to be a sponge, and I just wanted to soak it all in, right? I wasn't that involved in high school. I certainly wasn't involved in community college because I was just focusing on my core classes to get out. But when I got to Florida State for the first time, and I really began it started to click to me where I am right now. I'm really on my own. I'm really going to find out who I am and what I'm capable of. Being involved in the Alumni Association really helped me to kind of figure out who I wanted to be. And I really got to meet some outstanding people like you students do today. You have a lot of exposure to the president and to, the administrators of the university, and, all types of alumni from all over the country, all over the world. And Student Alumni Foundation back then went through a transition, right? Because you have the foundation, the boosters, and the Alumni Association. And back then, the Alumni Association was doing a lot of work, and we really wanted to, if you think about marketing and branding, okay, I mean, your co-marketing is going to come into play. Think about marketing. The Student Alumni Association is an extension of the Alumni Association, and back then it wasn't branded properly. So we went through this transition. We worked with the foundation. We have a great relationship with the foundation and the boosters, but we went through this, rebranding, and we brought the Student Alumni Foundation under the Alumni Association and branded it Student Alumni Association. That took about a year, believe it or not. And as a student leader at the time, to go through something like that, that's so transformative. And if I look at you guys today, I'll tell you this, when I was a student, many moons ago, we only had about 80 members in Student Alumni. And of the 80 members, we probably had an executive council of 10. And our entire goal at that time was to be the best student organization on campus. We wanted the best of the best because we were participating in the best of the best events. So we wanted cream of the crop, but we also wanted to grow the group. So we had to kind of think strategically about how we were going to scale, but not, just not go crazy with it and get it controlled. And, I know the model is different today. I think what you guys have done over the past 10 years or so has been phenomenal. I think we have some excellent students. I still think we have some of the best on campus. Just to answer your question, we went through a lot to get it to where it is today. And, I'm glad to see you guys you're still in charge of homecoming. You're still seen as, cream of the crop student leaders on campus. From what I understand, just by being there, you can feel it, but you have an excellent reputation. And I can tell you, the different administrators I'm lucky enough to talk to are always singing SAA's praises. So you all are doing a great job.
Thank you. And our last question for the night is going to be for leaders like us who are joining you on this webinar. What tips would you give us to continue in the right path that we are on?
Well, I guess the first thing I would say is make sure you're on the right path. And look, it's okay to fail. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up, right? If I look back at my career, I've done a lot of different things. I have a diverse experience, which is great. I want to change a thing. And I think, right now, if you know what you want, God bless you. Focus and go get it. If you are still thinking about, I'm not sure, that's fine. Just use the time to experiment and strategize. I would tell you, for those of you that do know what you want, I would just focus on networking and use your personal network to help you meet the people you need to meet to be successful. Just real quick, and I'll tell you, my story. Just because when I was a student and I was graduating, I had to make a decision. I was going to move to Atlanta or I was going to move back home to Miami, which was not my first choice, but I knew I wanted to be in sports. So what I started doing, and again, I don't even think we didn't have email. Okay. We didn't have the email back then. So I had to snail mail letters out, and I contacted, I knew I wanted to be in sports, right? So I sent my letter and my resume. Back then we had the Miami Dolphins and the Miami Heat, and we had Miami Motorsports. That was it in South Florida. Did the same thing in Atlanta. And I got a bite one day from Miami Motorsports. They used to be in downtown Miami, used to run the Miami Grand Prix. And then I knew they were moving to Homestead, right? Homestead is a small town, South Dade County. It's where I grew up. And I got a phone call in my apartment one day from the vice president of marketing and sponsorship for Miami Motorsports. He said, hi, Sam, my name's Bob Wild. I got your letter. When are you coming home? And, back then I was like, well, I'm going to come home this weekend. And I happened, the point was that, I networked to get what I wanted. I did not go to work for him. He didn't have a job for me. The interesting thing about Bob was that he was also a professor at St. Thomas University in sports marketing. He had graduates all over the country at almost every sports team in the nation. And back then, it was 1992, 1993. He had said to me, the Marlins are starting, the Panthers are starting. He's like, I can get you in anybody's door except the Marlins, right? Because they were just about to get going. What he didn't tell me, or he came to tell me later, and this is the power of networking, is why I'm telling you the story. He had a student who was head of sponsorships and sales at the Miami Heat. He knew she was leaving to go to the Florida Panthers. So he picked up the phone and he called her and he said, I'm sitting next to this, student named Sam. He's about to graduate from Florida State. You need to meet him. Just give the guy 30 minutes. So the next day I went to Miami. I sat with her in the arena. We talked a little bit of, what I wanted to do. And, she called me a few weeks later. Unfortunately, she couldn't hire me right away, right? The spot she was going to have for me was already filled by somebody else, and a whole nother reason. Well, I don't have to get into that right now. Long story short, I moved back home. I went to work for an internationally televised running event. And 5 months into my job, and I was selling sponsorships and marketing, right? Everything was going fine. I got a call one day, and it was going to be my future boss. Her name's Kim Terranova. Awesome. I learned a lot about, sales from Kim. And she said, hey, I think we may have an opening for you. Can you come talk to us? So the rest is history. I did. They hired me. I worked there for a while. And that really, that was I would look at that as the real start of my career. Professional sports, professional organization. I learned a lot about sales and marketing, and then everything took off from there. The entire point was I was a student. I had no connections. I networked to get what I wanted. Somebody bit, and then I had enough courage to go after it from that point forward. So that's what I'm going to tell you guys to do. Don't be afraid. Just go for it.
Okay. And so when you say don't be afraid, for some of those students who don't have necessarily the, I would say, confidence to do some of the things that you did, what advice would you give to those students for managing their stress?
Well, I would just tell you, you got to go do it. And doing it as a student is one thing, right? It's okay to fail, but it's not okay not to try, right? You have to go try. And so I think back to, here I am. So I told you when I got into Florida State, I wasn't accepted to my college, all right? I had a 3.2 GPA, okay, not outstanding, all right? But I had to distinguish myself from everyone else trying to get into college of communication. 3.4, 3.6, they all had better grades than me. So, and I knew back then I wanted to be in sports, right? So I knew what I wanted to do. I knew I had to get experience. I knew I had to be different than everyone else that was applying. So what I decided to do is, and this is part of my SAA experience, by the way. If you all know Dr. Betty Lou Jonas, she used to be one of our directors at the Alumni Association for years. Great woman. I call her my mom away from moms. I call her Dr. J. She's outstanding. I love her. But Dr. J at the time was one of the fundraisers for the College of Communication. And Dr. J helped me. She let me help her. Okay. She let me help her. There's a difference. And because she knew what I wanted to do. And I long story short, I put together a golf tournament for the College of Communication. It was called the Seminole Golf Classic. And at the first year, I ran the whole thing by myself. I got some student volunteers towards the end. But what I did was I went out and sold sponsorships to our own golf tournament. And there's a gentleman by the name of Riles Lee. He's at the university today. Back in this time, Riles was the Coors distributor in Tallahassee. He didn't know me. I picked up the phone. I called him. I said, hi, Riles, my name's Sam Ambrose. I'm at the university. This is what I'm trying to do. Can I come see you? And you have to have enough courage to make that first call. What's the worst that's going to happen? He's going to say no. Fine. I'm going to pick up the call. I'm going to call somebody else. You just have to have enough courage to try, and it's okay to fail. You just got to keep going. And, I would just encourage you guys. Look, if any of you want to practice, you can get my name and email from Megan, and you can rehearse with me. I will help you and coach you, but you just got to go do it.
I would like to say thank you so much. And I am going to turn it back over to Kenneth. And if any other participants have any questions, please send them in and we will be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you for everybody that turned in to join us today. Thank you, Irene, for moderating the discussion tonight. And a special thank you to our National Board Chair, Mr. Sam Ambrose. We greatly appreciate you sharing your experience and knowledge with us. Everybody keep an eye out for more SAA Speaker Series throughout the summer. But for now, good luck on finals.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Go Noles.
Go Noles.
Take care.